Hi, I'm Lisa, and I have been a professional dog trainer for nearly 25 years. And in this video series, I'm going to share with you some of the things that I teach in the first few lessons of my beginning dog training classes. If you're working with your dog at home, this will be a nice head start. I always recommend that the best place for people and their dogs to learn together is in a group class around other dogs and other people. But this will definitely give you a head start. So today we're going to cover foundation. A solid foundation provides a springboard for successful training outcomes. And over the years, I have found that if this foundation is not in place, there's a lot of unnecessary frustration that happens when you're trying to teach your dog. So let's start with consistency. Consistency is everything in the dog training world. Consistency between each other. So I want everybody in the family to sit down and have a powwow and decide what are the rules. Are the dogs on the couch, on the furniture, or not on the furniture? If they are on the furniture, is it all the furniture or one specific piece of furniture? And while you're having this conversation, I'm going to encourage you to consider, if you currently have a puppy, what their adult size is going to be. Because if you currently have a 10-week-old St. Bernard, having them sit on your lap on a couch is really not a big thing. But when they hit 130 pounds, that might not be what you want. And it's much better to start now with what you want them to be doing as an adult. It is very difficult to have these puppies on the couches for the first 6 months, and then all of a sudden you decide you don't want them there. All right. Consistency. Dogs jumping up on you or not jumping up on you? Now that's kind of, for some of us, that's kind of a crazy question. Most of us don't want dogs jumping up on us, but a lot of people don't mind it. And in fact, a lot of people invite their dogs up to say hi and to pet them. Well, if one person does it and allows it and the other person doesn't allow it, it creates conflict and confusion and frustration for the dog. You want all of your messages to be consistent. In fact, when there's inconsistency in expectations among the family, it actually creates anxiety for the dog. So there's something to keep in mind if you have a rescue dog, or if you have a dog that already has anxiety. The more consistent you can be within the home, the safer the animals feel within the home. So consistency is really, really important. So that's consistency person to person. We also need to be consistent day to day. So let's talk about jumping up again. So a lot of times we allow them to jump up when we have old grubby clothes on, but then we don't want them to jump up on us when we're dressed up. Well, the dogs don't know the difference, and that is not fair to expect them to know the difference. And that creates frustration for everybody. So really, if you want the dogs to not jump up, they should really be not jumping up at all, ever. And always remember that however you interact with your dogs, you are teaching the dog that it's okay to act like that with everybody. So if you invite the dog up for jumping and your elderly grandmother comes to visit, is she going to want the dog to jump up on her? Yeah, probably not. So you want to consider all of these things when you're living with your dog day to day. Another thing that I see a lot of in terms of inconsistency day to day is maybe somebody feeds the dog from the table once a month. Well, what do you think the dog's going to do for the other 29 or 30 days? They're going to hang around the table trying to figure out, why did I get fed 30 days ago? Well, maybe I just need to hang out here, because if I just hang out, somebody's going to feed me once in a while. So decide, do you want the dog begging at the table or not? And if the answer is no, nobody in the family can ever feed the dog from the table, right? You can't just slip the dog across from a tuna fish sandwich one day and think the dog's going to forget about it the next day, right? Consistency day to day is very, very important. All right. I have a little list here that I'm looking at. The other thing for foundation that's really important is play. You want to agree on how you're going to play with the dog, and you want to play appropriately with the dog. So what I see sometimes is certain people in the family, usually men and boys, like to wrestle with the dog or like to mouth wrestle. I don't know what you call it, where you slap the dog on the side of the face and the dog kind of gnaws on your hand, and you kind of do that with him. Those two styles of play are a hard no under any circumstances, because they will always lead to something you don't want. Remember, you are teaching the dog how to interact with all people. So if you've taught the dog to mouth wrestle, and one day a child comes in the house and doesn't know the dog, and the dog says, "Oh, hello, child. I want to be your friend. Let's play," and grabs the child's hand in an attempt to play. Scares the child cries, the adults get mad, and now the dog is labeled as a bad dog. The dog is not a bad dog. The dog is doing what the dog was taught to do. So another scenario that I see, which is really interesting, usually with couples, I remember one couple came in for one reason and one reason only. The dog chewed on the woman, used her as a chew toy, but didn't do that with the man, supposedly. Well, after a lot of questions, I got to the root cause. And the root cause is that he used to sit in front of the TV and absentmindedly play mouth wrestling with his dog. So then the dog would say, "Well, this must be how I initiate play." And he would try to initiate it with the woman. And they thought, and she couldn't get him to stop because she starts pushing the dog away. The dog thinks it's play. They interpret it as the dog didn't respect her. Well, it's not that the dog didn't respect her. The dog was taught that it's okay to chew on people by somebody else in the family, you see. So if you spend some time with your family talking about these things and getting clear about them, then all of the confusion goes away. So play, appropriate play. Retrieve is appropriate play. Kicking the soccer ball around is appropriate play. Tug of war is fantastic. You want to use a tug of war toy that is specific to tug of war, and it's only out when you're engaging with the dog, and you don't let the dog tug with anything other than that tug of war toy. A flirt pole is also a really fun way to play with the dog, and if you don't know what that is, look it up. It's flirt pole. And then where kids are involved, sometimes boys need to know how to interact with the dogs in a healthy way. If you teach the dog tricks, or you teach your child how to teach the dog tricks, the sky is the limit. And your child can then show off all the tricks that his dog knows. That's a fantastic way to engage with your dog. All right, so that's it for today. Tomorrow we are going to cover how to avoid the trap of accidentally reinforcing the behaviors you do not want.